Hello, everybody. Happy trade deadline day in the NHL.
Can you feel the energy?
Do you feel that?
Oh, man.
More
what
like-
a wasted day.
More like trade deadline. Right?
Oh,
hey,
very
I stole
good.
that one from Twitter, actually. Albert Vartanian, James Sharman with you. It is NHL trade deadline day. Not the most exciting of deadline days, but the past couple weeks in the NHL have been extremely exciting in terms of trades. More like the NBA, and you've been kind of hard on the NHL for not being as fun as other leagues.
I mean, like Chris Johnson said, it's been a bit better this year. We're seeing at least GMs trading first rounds beyond next year.
Okay.
You know, and multiple first rounders and all this salary retention, which makes it a little bit interesting. But I wouldn't want to be, by the way, a capologist. I don't know how these guys figure it out.
Yeah.
But it's been exciting.
Yeah.
37 trades the last 6 days. The day of the deadline itself. As expected,
Right.
nothing much happened in there, right?
You know,
But-
it'd be a lot more negative in Toronto if the Leafs weren't in on these trades this
Oh,
time around,
yeah, for
right?
sure.
Like, it's all fun
For
and
sure.
games in Toronto. Oh, this is great. At least 6 new players. We brought in a couple of
but they
Stanley
want
Cup
more.
champions.
Leaf
They
Nation
want
wants more, but 6 of them. I
Yeah.
mean, we saw, the last couple of games. It takes a while to gel these players together.
Yeah.
But man, it's been a fun week. Carl Dubas. I mean, Toronto sports media just have to shake his hand and say thank you, because for 2 weeks now, you just provided such great content.
Yeah. He knows exactly what he's doing. The Toronto Maple Leafs were in action last night. They beat the Calgary Flames 2-1. Luke Schenn made his re-debut with the team. Number 2. It was interesting seeing him out there, number 2, like
Do you
2023.
get a little bit misty-eyed? See him?
I mean, a different player. Old school defender. He throws the body around. He 4 hits last night. Him and Noel Chari, who keeps throwing the body around. We'll break down that game sooner in the next block, excuse me. The Raptors were also in action. A big game against the Washington Wizards. They dropped that. Now they're level with the Wizards in the play-in
Can we
spots.
stop by this whole must-win games? I've been hearing that for quite a bit.
They're must-win
from
until the end of the
Raptors
season
Nation.
now.
Yeah, I know they're important games, but they're not must-win now.
Right.
I'm a bit of an old-school guy with that. Must-win is when mathematically
Yeah.
you have to win it. How about, really shouldn't lose game, right? That's more important. And that's what it was last night.
Don't lose.
And what it is on Saturday.
Yes.
Because it was a big loss for them and they were terrible.
Yeah, I mean, Jakob Poeltl had a pretty good game. They still shot just over 44%, which is not great. I mean, that's something Nick Nurse touched on. He's like, we got to be better from the
They
field.
started down 0-10,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, not good enough.
No, it's not. I mean, then they have the Wizards on the second part of a 2-game series on Saturday, I believe. So they really need to win that game. It seems like throughout this season, they've really split most of their 2-game series. I think they swept Orlando, but we'll touch on that later on the show as well. But let's get to some more NHL. Let's bring up the Stanley Cup Futures Board. I mean, at the top of the list, it's the Boston Bruins, and rightfully so. They've been the best team in the NHL, on pace to become the best regular season team ever. Also on that list, you have the Avs, Carolina, and the Leafs at 950. This is all courtesy of FanDuel. And then you have the team they might meet in the first round, the Toronto Maple Leafs, that is, in Tampa Bay at 12-1, who hasn't been as active as maybe we thought they should have been.
Yeah, I know. You do wonder whether they should have responded more, but they're so deep, right? They know what they're doing there. I look at the Avs as well, being pretty quiet as far as the West is concerned right now, because the West is wide open right now.
Yeah.
That's where the value is, right?
Well, if the league ended today, right now in the West, you'd have Colorado match up against the Minnesota Wild and probably play Dallas or Edmonton in the second round. Tough matchup. And then in the finals of the conference finals in the West, you'd have Vegas, Winnipeg, Los Angeles, or Seattle. Not as tough as the East.
The East is
in the East,
ridiculous.
if you're the Bruins alone, you're going to have to go through the Islanders, Leafs, Tampa, potentially, and maybe the Rangers or the Devils.
And that's why I know we'll talk to Steven Psihogios of NorthStar Bets later today.
Right.
But you look at the West right now, and obviously the favored teams are in the East at the moment, but they're going to be beaten up by the time they get to the final. Whoever gets to the Stanley Cup final from the East
I know,
will be
Sharms,
just
we
destroyed.
keep saying that, I keep hearing that, but I don't know if that's the case necessarily. A lot of teams get better as it goes on. And we know, like, once you get into that final 8, any of those teams can win the Stanley Cup. I know
Yeah.
the Bruins are the cream of the crop, but on that list, any of those teams can win the Stanley Cup.
Oh, they can, but I'm just thinking, like, the way the East are muscling up and getting more of these bottom 6 players.
This is true.
It's going to be a war out there.
Yeah.
Whether it's Leafs, Tampa Bruins, Leafs, Bruins, Rangers obviously are loading up as well. You wonder by the time they get to that final, what's left in the tank.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, potentially, Edmonton Avs would be a fantastic second round.
Yeah.
Right? But, it's not quite the same, I don't think, as you mentioned there, the East.
I know
So-
if you're in the West, right, you want to try and bolster as much as you can because everyone else is weak.
Yeah,
I mean, the
all
Kings
the
did.
stars are going to the East.
Yeah, Edmonton, I think bringing that defenseman is a good call. I mean, we talked to Steven Psihogios about, mean, Edmonton's goaltending situation, Toronto Maple Leafs fans know it well, and Jack Campbell.
Who wasn't that bad, by the way, in the
No,
playoffs.
I mean, he went toe-to-toe with Vasilevsky, right? I mean, no matter how many, top-end goalies there are actually in the NHL. There's 2
4
on
or
top of
5?
the list. You have Shesterkin and Vasilevsky.
Right.
You're not going to go out and acquire anything that's even close to
Remember how it used to be? Every team had a legitimate number one
felt that
or
way,
close
yeah.
to it, right? And there was even a great backup there. And what has happened there with goaltending?
Yeah.
Usually the Europe opened the doors to great goaltenders or French Canada, right? What's happened?
Yeah.
It's just changed. Do kids not play goal anymore?
Yeah, maybe not. But the thing is too, once a team finds a good goalie, they snap him up and he's not going anywhere.
No,
Look how long it took Jonathan Quick to leave the Los Angeles Kings. 37 years old, gets traded to Columbus, then moves to the Vegas Golden Knights. Might have another chance of playing in the playoffs.
I want to see the Kings against the Golden Knights.
Yeah.
That'd
you
be
think
amazing.
Quick can take the crease?
Maybe.
Yeah, he's got the
Wouldn't put it
experience,
past him,
right?
Yeah. Sean's going to jump in, by the way.
Producer
Our boy,
Shawn.
Producer Shawn.
Hey,
Hey, Shawn.
Hey, no, hey. I think you guys bring up some good points. I'm looking a little bit, you mentioned Shesterkin there. I mean, Rangers at 12-1 looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, it's going to be a race in the East. And then in the West, I mean, if the Flames can stop the puck, I mean, plus 2,500 or so. I mean, that's great value.
They
for
still
the
got to
Flames.
get in though, Sean, right?
Yeah, I think they'll get there.
Markstrom
they've
looked
shown
really
nothing.
good against the Leafs last night, by the way. Joseph Wall did too.
Yeah,
who we'll talk about.
surprisingly.
Maybe his performance against the Flames turned Dubas's head in terms of maybe not wanting to acquire a goalie. But you never know. We'll touch on the Leafs in the next block, and we'll also have producer Sean in studio to talk about Jon Jones and Shogun's big fight at UFC 285.
Can't really put your finger on why, but we came out in the third period really focused and committed. To me, it was our best period of the season, best third period of the season. Go out, get the goal to get the lead, and then just how we defended, I thought, was exceptional.
Sheldon Keefe singing in a much different tune than the one that he was after the Oilers game. He actually said they lacked effort and intelligence, and now you have the best third period of the season. They beat the Calgary Flames 2-1 last night. Albert Vartanian here and James Sharman for the Homestand show. Toronto Maple Leafs, 4 wins in 5, 5 points up on Tampa. They really needed a bounce back against the Oilers, and I think the best thing that could have happened was the game the next night after that Edmonton game.
Yeah, response, right?
Yeah.
And didn't show fatigue, which you can often see in that second of back-to-back.
Yeah.
And that third period was great. They were physical, defended so well. In fact, throughout most of the game, they defended really well, I thought. And with new pairings, that was pretty impressive, I thought. But, yeah, I mean, it's funny, how Leaf Nation is. They have that awful game against Edmonton, and the wheels are falling off. There's this crisis. And every team has a bad game every now and again, but it's rare that the Leafs have one, and it's even rarer to have them back-to-back. They always respond this year. Outside the first couple of weeks of the season, you notice that? Mm-hmm. They have a better poor game or a less than great game, and they usually respond, which shows that the character, there's something different about this team than in previous years. And obviously with the trades, it looks very different now as well. But I think even within that leadership group, I don't know, are they more comfortable in their own skin or something? Which bodes well for the playoffs.
Right. I
Too
mean,
bad they're playing Tampa.
Yeah, and the performance came on the back of some really good performances from key players that Kyle Dubas brought in, and Sheldon Keefe had this to say about some of the newcomers in the team.
We took some real hard hits tonight in that third period to advance the play, and that's what it takes. I mean, looking at Achari and Lafferty, there's a couple that really stood out to me that really contested pucks on the wall to get those out, and that's what it takes to win. That's why you acquire those guys. Pucks in question on the wall, you know you're going to take a big hit, and the puck advances and gets out. Those are the kind of things that help you win. I thought O'Reilly, it was a clinic in the third period in terms of taking care of the game and helping us get the win. So the support of those guys and the guys we've come to rely on that they just brought in. I thought we had, we didn't have 4 complete lines, but how we were rolling it, everybody was on board, and the defense was very solid.
Noel Achari and Luke Schenn lead the way with 4 hits apiece. Luke Schenn, I said in the first block, looked like a completely different player from the one that was here. He's obviously matured. He's a veteran. He's got 2 Stanley Cup rings. What did you think about his performance?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't play that much, but when he played, he made a name for himself, right?
Just over 10 minutes, and he was noticeable.
He ran over Lucic, which isn't easy to do.
No, it's not.
He's just a beast, right? And I mean, I know I mentioned before Leaf Nation, and we get overexcited about certain things. Now it's essentially a third pairing depth defenseman, right? He might even be a 6-7 maybe in the playoffs. I know he started and played some minutes beside Riley last night. But we get so excited about these things. But it just adds that difference again that the Leafs just haven't had for a very long time. Obviously, Muzzin's been out for so long, that snarl, as they call it in hockey, right?
Yeah.
I like that.
So do I.
And he's simple. He plays a simple game, and he works well with Riley. Now, he can't play 22 minutes beside Riley because he can't do more than 12, 13 minutes a game. But it really, I see why Keith was happy about the game last night and how he mentioned, they were prepared to take the big hit to make the play on the boards. I haven't seen that much from this team over the years.
No, exactly. You haven't seen it for some players who left the team
Who
and
now play for the Islanders.
Exactly, your favorite player, Luke Schenn. I thought Luke Schenn was really good last night, and he had this to say about putting the Leafs jersey on once again.
Yeah, it was pretty surreal, honestly, when I kind of got chills when I first threw it on there going out for warm-ups. It's feels like another lifetime ago almost where I was wearing this jersey, and I think looking back, I mean, when you're 18 years old and you first wear it, you appreciate wearing the jersey, but I think kind of the ups and downs of my career and to kind of come full circle and get the chance to wear it again, I think it means a lot more, and that just kind of comes with being older and having a better appreciation for different things that you go through in the league, and for it to come full circle and get the opportunity again, I'm grateful for it.
It's been quite some time since the Leafs got out of the first round. I mean, they're going to play Tampa Bay, like we keep mentioning. You're going to keep hearing that until the playoffs. It's going to be a difficult series. But, I mean, I think Schenn and Achari and McCabe and Lafferty, Ryan O'Reilly are probably the types of players they haven't had in, 6 years since they won a first round?
I'm trying to think the last time they had those kind of players, is it as far back as the Pat Quinn era?
Right.
It may have been, right? A long, long time. I mean, look at this. Most consecutive first-round losses. I mean, at least they made the playoffs. There was a stretch there where he's making the playoffs, right? And I tell you, I must admit, I mean, I'm happy about the progress they're making and, the new identity, and I love seeing Luke Schenn back. It's great. But it's the back of my mind thinking, man, if they go out again to Tampa, which is quite possible, right? Tampa is 3 straight Stanley Cup finals, 2 cups. Just think about how Leaf Nation's going to feel. At the same time, I've got this other feeling that maybe Tampa's they've played so much hockey the last 3, 4, 5 years, right? They've played more hockey than anyone.
We were saying that last year.
I know.
And
I know. They're a bit like the Croatia in soccer.
There you go.
Right? They just don't tire.
No.
I'm hoping they tire.
Yeah.
And maybe it's 4 and out.
They have, think about it. They have the experience. They have Vasilevsky, best goalie in the league. I mean, Hedman, one of the best defensemen in the league. You got Kucherov and Stamkos, 2 players who constantly
Okay, so would you match up
the
the Leafs forwards against Tampa's forwards? How would you match them up right now?
I think the Leafs edge them there.
Just about.
Goalie to goalie, Vasilevsky.
Yeah, back
defense,
end.
I think I'm still going to side with Tampa Bay.
Just because they got Hedman.
They got Hedman, who's a fantastic player. I mean, they're just a deep team. They lost McDonough, which is a big loss, but
yeah, true.
I mean, they have so much experience in that team. Speaking of the back end, let's talk about Joseph Woll. He started in net ahead of Ilya Samsonov last night. Hey, 25 saves. He's 5-2 in the NHL, 16-2 altogether between the Marlies and the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know it was just one performance, but do you think that performance turned Kyle Dubas's head in terms of maybe I don't need to look for another goalie?
I hope not. Now, I'm not saying he should find another goalie, but he can't base his opinion on one game. I think Woll's been great. This season in the AHL, he's been absolutely brilliant when healthy. He's been out for quite a while, but when he's played, he's been superb. And last night, very, very good. But it's still got to be, the key is still Matt Murray. As simple as that, right? Do you think if Matt Murray is healthy and gets a run of games down the stretch, who starts game 1? Is it going to be Samsonov?
I think it's Samsonov.
Do you? Even with Murray's pedigree in the playoffs?
I just don't know what Matt Murray is. What is he? What if he comes in the next game?
2-time Stanley Cup winner.
I know, but what if he comes in the next game and he's injured? I don't think he's very reliable.
If he's healthy, though, I'm saying.
Right.
If he's healthy.
If he's healthy, it's still tough. I think based on the season, I think Samsonov has earned it. I think it's his net until it's not.
But experience counts for so much in goal, right, in the playoffs. You see that every single year.
But lack of playing time is a big issue with Matt Murray. He's not sharp.
How often do you have, though, essentially a rookie with a team making an impact in the playoffs?
Yeah, no, it's true. It doesn't happen very often. You're going to hope that your forwards and the new defenseman you brought in can keep the puck away from the net, which they did in the third period. They just allowed 5 shots.
Well, yeah, see, right, so it's easier to play net for the Leafs now than it was even 2 weeks ago. Right? I hope Woll does make a name for himself at the NHL level because he's been in the system long enough now. And it's a great name for a goaltender.
Yeah, the Woll.
The Woll.
I love he has the bricks in the wall on his mask. Auston Matthews. we need to talk about what's going on there. 2 goals.
We're panicking or what?
I don't know. 2 goals in his last 7 games. 8 shots last night, actually, between him and Marner. 16 shots altogether. So it wasn't for lack of trying. But I mean, just 2 goals in 7 games.
Yeah.
90 seconds, Sharm.
Maybe he's waiting for the playoffs. I mean, he should be under the microscope though, right? And maybe we should be more critical. If this team wasn't 4th in the NHL, cruising to the playoffs, potentially another 115-point season, then I guess he would have people, on his case more. And the fact is, he's doing more than just scoring. We know that, right? He's that 200-foot player, as they say. But you still need him to be Art Ross Trophy Auston Matthews, don't you?
Yeah.
Let's not compare
him.
You
pay him for the goals, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, it's 11.5, wherever it is.
And I just want to bring this up too. When it comes to the playoffs, you need your key guys to step up. I mean, 2022 last season when Colorado won the Stanley Cup, Nathan MacKinnon, 13 goals, 11 assists. 2021 when Tampa won the Cup, Kucherov, 8 goals, 24 assists. 2020, Kucherov, 7 goals, 27 assists. 2019, Ryan O'Reilly, 8 goals, 15 assists. I can go on and on and on. But Auston Matthews has to score goals, and he needs to hit the ground running now.
Is he just preparing for the playoffs and kind of pacing himself more this year? Is it possible?
Possibly,
or is
but
it
around this
underlying
time
injury?
last year, he was still banging in the goals, right? Is there a lingering injury?
And
It's
had
just
a
changed his
decent
game
playoff.
so much where he doesn't rely on the goals.
Yeah.
Right, but coming into the playoffs, you're going to need
They
him to
need
score the
him
goals,
and
right?
Marner and
And
Tavares.
Marner's been fantastic.
Yeah,
by
you
the way.
can't question him.
All right, coming up in the next block, guess what? Steven Psihogios joins us from NorthStar Bets. All right, welcome back to the Homestand Show. James Sharman and Albert Vartanian with you. Joining us now, a very special guest. It's Steven Psihogios of NorthStar Bets. Stevie, let me hit you with this one right out of the gate. Fill in the blank. The NHL trade deadline is
chaotic. If you're talking about the week leading up to it, chaotic. The day itself today, very underwhelming, but it's been an eventful 6-7 days beforehand.
Yeah, we knew this was coming, James, but it's still
so predictable.
It's so predictable.
And every year, Steve, I watch this deadline day, and I'm glued to my TV set. And every year, I end the day feeling just used and abused. We know it's going to happen. I mean, listen, it's been an amazing week or so. I think 37 trades over the last 6 days overall, but a quiet deadline so far. Does the NHL have it right? Do you think the way they do this deadline? Because you compare it to the NBA, when it's almost the opposite. It happens so much on the actual day itself. Do we need more rule changes, do you think, to kind of mix it up, get these GMs being a little bit more creative on that final day?
I don't know. It's hard. Like, if you're a general manager, if you get that right deal in front of you, you're not going to waste any time rushing to announce it with the league. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. As a viewer, you'd love to see more deals on the actual deadline day. But if you look at NorthStar Bet's co-star or a co-worker, Chris Johnson, in the Bad for Bedard video, at least some of the broadcasts give you some entertaining skits to fill the time while there's no trades happening on the actual deadline day.
Yeah, talk about a guy who's been on top of everything throughout this whole time, trades and trade deadlines. Chris Johnson, NorthStar Bet's been fantastic. Friend of the show now, by the way.
Absolutely, yeah.
As is Steven Psihogios. Stevie, one more fill in the blank for you. If the Bruins, because you're a Bruins fan, if the Bruins and Leafs meet in the playoffs, blank will happen.
Bruins in 7.
Wow.
I'm going to say it's
not
going to be
again.
a Bruins in 7. The Leafs, I'll tell you, when you look at this Atlantic division, home ice advantage is going to be worth so much come playoff time.
Right.
You got 3 of the best home ice teams essentially in one division with Boston, Toronto, Tampa Bay. So if they meet, it's pretty much a guarantee Boston's going to have home ice in that series. And I think that is the ultimate momentum builder, the ultimate X factor in a 7-game series between teams that really understand there's a lot of points between them in the standings, but really not a whole lot when you look at the rosters, I think.
It's going to take a lot for either team to get into that second round. I think Boston may be the easier path, at least through the first round, if they're going to take on the Islanders. But I mean, for the Leafs to get through Tampa Bay in what should be a 7-game series, to meet the Bruins to another 7-game series.
I've been hearing a lot of commentary about this and about, the Leafs playing Tampa, the arch nemesis, and must get through Tampa. But for me, it's still the Bruins.
Still Bruins.
Right, 4-1 is still very fresh in my mind as a Leaf fan. But looking at the Bruins, they've been very busy, as have the Leafs in this deadline. How much better are they? I know the odds have changed considerably since the Orlov trade in particular, but they're tougher, it seems. They're nastier. They're deeper.
Yeah, they've got a lot nastier. You maybe an under the radar addition is a guy like Garnet Hathaway. I'd watch him play on the Capitals, and just a nasty forward to go up against. Plays very physical. Will give you some really good, strong, honest minutes in that bottom six. And then Orlov as well. He's a rangy defenseman who is tough to beat defensively. And look at the offense he's putting up in Boston. 8 points in 4 games. I don't think anybody would have expected that hot of a start for Orlov, but Jim Montgomery has really given the defenseman free range to chip in offensively, which is something maybe Orlov didn't get under head coach Peter Laviolette when you look at the Capitals. So under a new philosophy with new teammates and a better team, Orlov is really becoming unlocked here as well.
According to NorthStar bets, at the moment, Boston Bruins 4-1, plus 400 to win the Stanley Cup. The Avs behind them at plus 500, and then you got the Leafs way down there at plus 900, a couple of the favorites. It's so interesting with this Boston Bruins team because we were talking off air how, you didn't expect this to happen. I don't think many people expected the Bruins to be on pace to become one of the greatest NHL regular season teams. And if they go on to win the Cup, who knows what records they can break. But they have this last dance factor about them, right? You got Bergeron and Krejci and Marchand. It's the last dance for those three. It's almost like as good as they are and their quality shines through, they have that X factor of, listen, this is our last chance of winning a cup together.
100%. And it's not just those players individually that are stepping up because they know this might be their last chance, but you have a guy like Patrice Bergeron, who's one of the most respected players in the league, let alone in his own locker room. That team is pulling to help get that guy a championship. Would be his first as the captain of the Bruins. Chara was the captain back then when they won in 2011.
Right.
So that's a Bruins team that is really kind of all surrounding this major purpose. Obviously, every team wants to win the Stanley Cup, but it feels like Boston's kicks at the can are starting to run thin, and the whole team has really elevated their game. And between the pipes, I think has been the ultimate difference maker. Even earlier this week against the Calgary Flames, I want to say the Bruins got outshot 58-20. Allmark stops 55 of 58 shots in a win. He has been phenomenal this year. They have a .930 save percentage, Boston. That's 14 points up on the next closest team, which is the same gap between number 2 and number 14 in the NHL.
That being said, Allmark, unproven really in the playoffs. I mean, as a Boston Bruins fan, is there any concern that they can't continue this crazy pace through the postseason?
You think about it a lot. It's like, when is the bottom going to fall out? Because this team has really gone from start to finish with no resistance. So it's something that the Bruins, I'm sure, it's a veteran group. So come playoff time, that the vets are going to be ready. But like you mentioned, James, you wonder about a guy like Allmark who doesn't really have that playoff pedigree. Luckily for Boston, and it's something that no other team, I think, in the Atlantic, when you look at the heavyweights, has, is a solid backup option in Jeremy Swayman. Tampa Bay can't afford to give Andrei Vasilevsky too many nights off down the stretch because Brian Elliott is one of the worst backups in the league. And the Maple Leafs, who knows when Matt Murray's coming back. Samsonov has been fine. I'm sure Leaf fans would have liked a little bit of a better effort against the Oilers the other night, but he's been, for what you pay him, he's been serviceable. So Boston does have that luxury. If things go south for Allmark and they're down 0-2, they can make a goalie change and have a proven goaltender behind it.
That being said, I mean, sometimes naivety is a plus for some of these teams in various sports, right? I mean, we talk about experience being key. I get that, but sometimes not knowing what to expect for these younger players, they rise to the occasion. You do see it occasionally. And with the Bruins, I mean, listen, you're right. The decline was supposed to be this year, right? Didn't happen. Who knows about next year? But they did sign up Pasternak to a huge monster contract. He's part of the future. If there is a decline, do you see it being a long drawn out decline, a la like Red Wings, or a shorter one? Because to me, it sounds like they got a plan in place here beyond the Bergerons and the Krejcis.
The one major area where there is reason to be concerned for Bruins fans is down the middle of the ice. Because once Bergeron and Krejci go, not a whole lot of depth in that prospect system down the middle. Their top prospect is Fabian Lysell, who's a winger, and he's been playing well for the Providence Bruins, and there's a lot of promise behind him. But really down the middle of the ice is where Boston could take a big hit, and it's hard to bring in these top centers. You don't see them on the move all that much. Detroit everyone was wondering what happened with Larkin. They kept him. They know how valuable it is to have a guy who you can trust as a number 1 or a high-end number 2 down the middle of the ice. So Boston, that'll be the biggest factor, is figuring out who's going to be their number 1 center beyond the Bergeron and Krejci years. But they do have a number 1 defenseman in Charlie McAvoy. The goaltending situation seems to be shored up for quite some time. Swayman's very young. Allmark's not that old either. So it could be one of those things where the Bruins are maybe more playoff cusp than playoff contender and up in the top of the standings. Maybe they're fighting more for a wild card spot than they are for one of the top 3 divisional spots. But I do think center depth will be a major concern once the veterans do eventually retire.
Yeah, and that'll be much easier to deal with if you win a Stanley Cup this season, right? You'll deal with a rebuild or a retool, whatever the case may be. We're talking to Steven Psihogios of NorthStar Bets. All right, getting into teams that can win the Cup, I mentioned Boston at the top of the list on NorthStar Bets at plus 400. Outside of them, who do you like to go all the way this year?
I like the Oilers at about 15 or 16 to 1. I know Chris Meany was on the show yesterday, said the value's in the West. He gave out the Golden Knights, which I don't mind either. Vegas has been looking really strong since the All-Star break, but the Oilers to me have that 1-2 combo in McDavid and Draisaitl that could be lethal. And when you look at what happened last year against the Avalanche, a guy who I thought played a big role and had a big part in their success was obviously Nazem Kadri. And the Avs don't have that kind of center depth anymore down the middle of the ice, unfortunately, with Kadri gone. They acquired Lars Ellers from Washington, who's good, but he should be your third-line center. And I feel like they've been plugging in a lot of third-line guys to fill that second-line hole. Once Landeskog comes back, that'll help out their offense as well, the Avalanche. But Edmonton, I just look at what McDavid has been doing all season long, and to try to stop that guy in a 7-game series seems impossible. And between the pipes, they've got to stop playing Jack Campbell. I know you signed with this 5x5 contract, but it's not working. Stuart Skinner, he's not setting the league on fire, but if you can hold teams to 2 to 3 goals, that's all you need as the goaltender for the Oilers. Heck, even 4 goals some nights is good enough because that offense is going to score 4 or 5. They're going to get their fair share. And I think Skinner gives them a much better chance to win than Campbell does.
Yeah, I mean, and they brought in another defenseman, which is going to help the Edmonton Oilers. Quickly, Stevie, we're running out of time. I know you have a 3-leg parlay for tonight. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, so I got a few picks on the board tonight. Devils money line's the most risky one at minus 112. I also got the under. I teased that up to 7.5. Vegas is one of the best unders teams in the NHL, and 7.5 is a number I feel pretty comfortable with Vegas and New Jersey. And then lastly, I'm going with the Hurricanes on the money line. They play the Arizona Coyotes. Not expecting a whole lot from the Yotes. They've lost 3 of their last 4. They're not playing well defensively, and it's the Carolina Hurricanes, one of the best road teams, one of the best teams, period, in the NHL.
I'm with you with the Hurricanes. Steven Psihogios of NorthStar Bets. Stevie, thanks again. Let's do this down the road.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, James and Albert.
All right, thank you. All right, coming up, James, we have a very, very, very special guest joining the show.
Who could it be?
I'm not going to say who, but we're going to discuss Jon Jones, the UFC, and the NHL tonight. All right, welcome back to the Homestand Show. Albert Vartanian, James Sharman, and look who decided to stop by.
Hi.
Producer Shawn. Usually you see him in a little corner on the screen there. We don't exactly know why he's in here, but he's here. Shawn, what do we owe the pleasure?
Yeah.
Well, when you're the producer of the show, you kind of make up some rules as you go along, and here I am. You know, I'm tired of being in that little box.
Yeah.
I want some bigger real estate,
Yeah.
push my weight around, so here I am.
How's it feel so far?
Oh, I mean, so far so good. You haven't asked me any questions.
We did invite you on.
Oh, thank you.
Because we love you.
Yeah,
UFC 285 going down this weekend. Jon Jones, Cyril Gane. Finally, it's going to happen on Saturday because I'm tired of talking about it. I just want to see this fight happen. Look at these 2 big behemoths. Look at the size of Jon Jones. And people are kind of poking fun at him because he doesn't look as ripped and as big. I mean, what do you expect when you're moving up to heavyweight, right? You're not going to look as good as a Cyril Gane. You're not going to be ripped. But you're going to have that power under that weight.
I wish I looked that ripped.
That's what I'm saying.
Me too. No, I mean, he looks good. He took the time to get into heavyweight. You know, he took about 3 years off, whether that's for, performance-enhancing drugs or his legal troubles or possible cocaine issues. There's been a lot going on with Jon Jones over the last few years. So for me, I'm not concerned with him. He'll weigh about the same as Cyril Gane coming into the fight.
Totally.
So, it's just a return of the GOAT. Who do you guys think is the GOAT of MMA? I think there's a few that could be in the conversation. Yeah, ever.
Greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. I mean, GSP's up there.
Yeah.
I used to think Hoist Gracie for a long time when I first started watching UFC.
Was he the most technical hoist
Well, he
Gracie, or the Gracies
came
in
in. He
general.
came in when it wasn't really mixed martial arts,
Right.
right? Everyone had their own
Yeah.
martial art.
Yeah.
He had jujitsu,
Jiu-jitsu,
and
yeah.
he came. Remember, the Gracies came from Brazil to show everybody, listen, jujitsu's the best.
Are they the most influential? At least is that fair
Yeah,
to say?
so
Gotta
the
be.
difference between like the Mount Rushmore, I think, towards like the GOAT. I think the GOAT should be on the Mount Rushmore, but the GOAT could be somebody like Khabib Nurmagomedov, who's undefeated and now retired. It could be GSP, like you said, Jon Jones. You know, to me, like Conor McGregor could be on the Mount Rushmore.
I was about to
'cause
say,
he blew
does
up the
McGregor
sport.
get into that
He blew up the
conversation?
sport, but to me, like he's too many losses now. He also has a bunch of legal trouble.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's almost as if they get distracted at a certain point and they lose focus on the actual
Yeah.
fight game, right?
Yeah.
And Connor's a prime example of that.
Yeah. No,
Right,
I
it's a
agree.
shame.
I agree.
What about, let's go way back, someone like Randy Couture, as far as
Sure.
influential.
Yeah, he was influential. I mean, there's
Don't
so
forget
many
about
like
Ken
Mark
Shamrock.
Coleman, the godfather of ground and pound. I mean,
Oh.
Crow
there's-
Cop.
Yeah, Mirko Crow Cop. I mean, Fedor. I mean, there's so many people that are influenced. You know, Ken Shamrock, Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell, like all these guys influenced, but they don't quite fit the GOAT moniker. To me, Jones is in that conversation, and if he can win on Saturday night, then to me, it still needs a couple more title
Yeah.
defenses. But he could make it. He could make
You
it.
mentioned Chuck Liddell. I mean, that's interesting because he's broke through when UFC broke through, it
Mm-hmm.
seems, right? And is that why we look at him as someone that potentially could be on the Mount Rushmore? Simply because he was the biggest name
At
when
the time,
UFC
yeah.
first became
Yeah,
you know,
he's
a
one
legitimate
of the guys
sport.
who helped put on the map. Right?
Yeah, yeah,
Those
right,
fights he had
exactly.
with Tito Ortiz. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what everyone thinks about. You can even go back, you know, Ken Shamrock. You mentioned Randy Couture. I'm missing one. Oh my God, it was a heavyweight, American guy.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, it
What
doesn't
what about
matter.
Ronda Rousey?
Ronda Rousey's
Sure.
up there.
Again, another influential in the female mixed martial
Yeah.
arts. Like there might not be female mixed martial arts if it wasn't for Ronda Rousey. So yeah, I think all these arguments can be made, and to me, it'll be interesting. I mean, if Jones wins the title, he'll be another two division champion. So
Yeah.
I think having that in his repertoire and on his resume is huge for that conversation.
Well, this has been his plan, like you said, for 3 years. He wanted to become
Yeah.
a heavyweight, and now he gets the chance to fight Cyril Gane for the heavyweight championship. Opened as the underdog around plus 160, I believe.
Yeah, plus 140, plus
And now it's
160, somewhere in
flipped.
that
He's
range.
about minus, probably going to close around minus 170, minus 175.
Yep.
I mean, it makes sense that all the action is going to go on Jon Jones. He's a popular name,
Yep.
and they're expecting, you know, the greatest of all time to go and dominate Cyril Gane. Do you see it going that way?
Dominate is a tricky word. He could. If you go back and you watch Jon Jones over the years, you know, he went in and his fights with Daniel Cormier, he's taking down Daniel Cormier, an Olympic level wrestler, you know what I mean? You watch Cyril Gane's 2 fights ago, he fights Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou is not a wrestler, right? By any means. He's a one-punch power knockout artist.
Yeah.
He was 4 for 5 on takedowns against Gane. So for me, Jones coming in with his Greco-Roman background, you know, get in close, the trips, the clinch game. I've seen him suplex people back in the day. I'm not expecting him to suplex Gane, but I am expecting him to find, you know, himself on top, and therefore he could dominate him. I'm not going to go as far as say dominate him, but I am expecting him to win on Saturday night.
So we were talking about Cyril Gane, his fist. I don't know if you guys saw this, but
Yeah.
it looks like a balloon. And you can barely see his knuckles. And they've asked him, like, oh, how's your fist? He's like, oh, it's fine. But clearly, if he puts both fists up like this, you can only see knuckles on one of them. There's an issue there.
Yeah, he's come out and said there's nothing wrong. So, I mean, you got to look at that. I mean, there's been fighters in the past, even recently with the James Krause thing, where apparently his fighter came in with a bum knee, and there's a bunch of bets coming in on him as almost he threw the fight, right?
Dirty.
So I'm not expecting that out of Gane. A lot of people go into fights injured, and that could be the case here. But I mean, like maybe it's just a little bruised. You know, these guys throw hands all the time into the heavy bags and in sparring. It could just be just like a little bit of swelling, and maybe it's not broken. You know, it's probably not broken. If it was broken, he's probably not getting cleared. But I mean, Michael Bisping, you know, fought with one eye for like,
Yeah, that's true.
So you know, you never know what's going on. But I just feel like it's probably blown out of proportion. He's probably okay.
What's the purse for this fight?
That's a great
What's
question.
Jones getting?
I'm not sure, to be honest. After pay-per-view
Yeah.
points and the gate
for
and
that.
everything, I mean, he's probably got to be one of the highest paid fighters in the UFC. He'll probably make a few million, would be my guess.
So what if he loses? What happens to Jon Jones then and his legacy?
So that's a great question. For his legacy, he's still one of the greatest of all time, but like that would definitely hurt his chances at becoming one of the best of all time. So for me, I mean, he'd still fight at heavyweight. There's no way you can go back down in class now. He's probably going to weigh in around 240, 245 for this. And that's my guess for that. And so he'd fight another fight at heavyweight. It probably wouldn't be the next fight he's looking at is Stipe Miocic, a former champion. So he's not already looking past Gane, but he's sort of got a plan. And he had a plan coming into this.
It's so rare though in the fight game, be it UFC, be it boxing, that a boxer goes out on his own, right? You know, as the champ, or as, you know, you see these great goats. They don't know when to quit. And at the end of their career, they lose a few. And the legacy, it is tarnished. The legacy, right? It happens. Even Ali, right? He fought too long.
Yeah.
And he's still considered the greatest of all time. And he's still Ali, but there's still, but I remember when he was overweight and lost.
You know who didn't do that? Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd Mayweather.
He's still fighting.
And exhibitions, right?
It's not over yet.
No.
Isn't that worse than losing to a legitimate fighter?
Yeah,
in a way.
It's like racing against a racehorse.
But I also think, but Charms, I also think he realized.
Ben Johnson did that. Yeah.
No, but Mayweather, I think he also realized that maybe he can't hack fighting in a professional fight anymore.
So why? I just don't get it. Is it ego? Is it that he just has to get the thrill of the fight?
Money.
He doesn't need money.
Maybe he does.
Maybe he does.
Right?
Well,
He
Maybe
does gamble a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I really want to know.
Oh.
You're gonna tune in to watch the fight this weekend,
Yeah,
right?
of course,
You're
yeah.
sit on the couch. You're gonna have the dog there. You guys are gonna be hanging out. Maybe the wife's working night shift.
No, she's home.
Oh, so she's gonna be watching it with you. Okay, so what's the spread like? What's the beverage of choice?
No, you know, I'm just probably.
What are you ordering in?
Keeping it casual. I mean, not to go too far into my personal life, but she's got softball, and then we're gonna hang out after. So like,
the viewers care about producer Sean's wife's.
Tune in next week when I go through my chores list. So for me,
Give me. I know you're already
just gonna
thinking
have
about
some
what you're
beer.
ordering in. What are you
No,
ordering?
I'm not ordering.
Yeah, you are.
Wow.
No,
yes,
no,
you are.
no.
We've seen you crush 3 poutines in 1 week here.
That's true.
You're
He's
ordering
What
it.
about your dog? Is it a kibble dog or is it
Kibble
soft
dog,
food?
yeah, kibble. Yeah, well, we give her soft foods on occasion,
Little treat.
but kibble mostly. And but yeah, no ordering in. But I'm gonna drink a couple beers. You know, keep it light. It's just me and the wife. I'm not having like a party or anything. So just gonna hang out and relax.
You
and,
keep it
and stay
chill.
stay up until 1 a.m. and watch the fights.
What about you? What are you doing?
I was gonna have like a little party at my place,
yeah?
but
Oh, thanks
no,
for the invite.
no, I'm sorry. But then I wasn't say her name. My wife, she's like, no, we're gonna hang out with your niece and nephew and your brother, and I'm like, okay, all right, fine. But the plan was to have the boys over, poker, order in some pizza, a couple of drinks. I mean, at some point in your life that needs to end. I'm almost 35 years old, but
No, never.
that was my plan.
Well, for me, I mean, listen, something's changed in my household the last. My wife's out on Saturday night. She's going out. And so's my daughter.
Oh, Sharms.
So I'm on my own.
What are you doing?
Well, I thought
You would have loved
I
an
thought
invite
about
to your
maybe
party.
inviting some of the boys over.
Yeah.
I thought about doing that.
Oh yeah.
But then the thought of just being by myself on the couch is really, really tempting. So I think
There's a
about
lot that goes into, right? You invite them over. You got to buy drinks. You got to buy
work
food,
it.
some snacks. You got to clean up. The next day when
honestly,
you're,
I might not get dressed tomorrow. I got 30 in the morning. Then we got
that's right, yeah.
maybe have a little nap. Then we've got Leafs and UFC in the evening. I mean, it's a good sport weekend.
it's a great sport
Raptors
weekend.
too, right?
Yeah, no, it's starting to get hot. Let's talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Sure.
Love your take on what they've done so far.
Yeah, I mean, adding who they added and O'Reilly and Schenn and Achari and you know, I've been wrong about hockey all week though. I've been betting hockey all week.
Been a bad week?
It's been a bad week, and I don't know. You know, I don't know if it's just I'm terrible or if it's the fact. Are you okay?
This guy, Eddie Mush, kiss of death. Every time he gives me a bet, I'm like, that's not gonna win, and I end up tailing it, just like I did last night.
Well, do you want to talk about some bets for this
All
weekend?
right, throw out some bets. Yes. So this is a new segment. Instead of here are the Homestand Show's best bets, we're gonna give you here are our worst bets of the night. Shawn McCormick. Here we go.
That's not very fair.
I'm sorry. You do pretty well. But
No,
let's
I
hear,
mean
let's hear.
sometimes.
wanna hear
Again,
some of these
I'm
bets.
I'm down a lot this week. I won't lie to you guys. Let's go back to Jon Jones and Cyril Gane.
Okay, let's do it.
I mean, I don't mind a little sprinkle on the money line a bit. Like minus 170 is a bit of a hefty price.
That's a big number,
For
right?
something that you're unknown about. You know, how's Jones going to look at heavyweight? Can he handle a punch like a heavyweight punch? Yeah, his chin is held up in the past. I like a little sprinkle on Jones to win by TKO or KO at plus 390 on FanDuel. Like I said, if he can get the fight to the ground and work some ground and pound, I think he can stop Cyril Gane. Again, not dominate him, but I think he can stop him.
I think
it's a
he can
5-round
take the
fight.
shots, though, right? He took shots from Cormier, be it at light heavyweight,
Yeah.
Gustafsson. These are heavy hitters.
Yeah, for sure. You've seen him rock like once or twice in his career, and that speaks to his dominance just as a fighter in general.
I think mostly in that Gustafsson fight, right? And he didn't even train for the first one against Gustafsson. Remember that?
Yeah.
And he still won.
And that's what I mean. Like, he's just one of the best of all time. And Gane's come in and he said, I'm lazy and I don't like to train. And like, that's not like to be the greatest of all time. Like, you don't have that mindset. And
No,
Jones
not
was
at
maybe
all.
a little bored at light heavyweight. He's coming in motivated. He's coming in to win. And then I like some things on the ice. I heard Stevie Psihogios, he likes the Devils tonight. I like the Devils. So sorry, Stevie, your bet's going to lose. I also like both teams to score. No, I don't like any
please
both
don't do
teams
that.
to score. I do like the Kraken in regulation. I think that's like minus 103, 104 at Columbus.
Okay, I like
Columbus,
that
the worst
too.
team in the league. Just bet against them. Hopefully you win.
Yeah, and just shedding talent.
Yeah.
Seems so, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
I'm big on the Canes tonight, the Hurricanes, but minus 385 is a bit big to lay.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
the
mean-
minus
Who are
140.
the Canes playing?
They are playing the Arizona
Yeah,
Coyotes.
they're on the road to the Coyotes.
But
yeah.
there's something about the Coyotes. I can't bet against them because they always bite me in the
They're
ass.
always up like 2-0 and then they lose. So I don't know. I think that's not
Well,
a
there's a
bad,
good tip.
bad
Bet
luck at
them
money.
live, right?
Yeah, you
Bet
can bet the
Canes
Hurricanes
alive
live.
if they go
sure.
down.
What about some footy? Man City, Newcastle, Saturday morning.
You know what, Sharms? I'm thinking that's a 0-0.
Really?
I do.
Well,
Probably.
Newcastle's got the best defense in the league by a mile.
Yeah.
Man City haven't been firing on all cylinders
Well, is
just yet.
Nick Pope back for that game?
He'll be suspended still.
Oh,
I
okay.
believe.
Yeah, 3-game, right? So
Yeah.
it was the
Cup.
Cup. He's got 2 more games.
Yeah.
Ah, that changes everything. Lowers
Yeah,
carries.
Lewis carries. Although they play pretty
Oh,
well in the Cup,
Dubravka
though.
can play actually because
He
he's
can,
not playing
got Cup
United.
played. That's right.
All right, there
Yeah.
you go.
Give me
Man
something to
City.
till. Give me something to till.
What's interesting this weekend?
I'm going to say
Like,
City,
even in that
Newcastle
game.
draw plus 330.
Okay.
That's the big one for me.
Plus 330.
Sharms? You like Chelsea and João Felix to score.
Yeah, I had Chelsea and João Felix to score.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's plus 275, I think.
Those are our worst bets of the night and the weekend. Brought to you by the Homestand Show. Coming up, us three will wrap up the show and get you ready for the weekend. All right, we've reached the end of the show on the Homestand Show. Albert Vartanian, James Sharman, producer, Shawn in studio.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on John Rahm really quick.
What was that?
What was that? Was that a burp?
We did it.
No, yeah.
Oh, you give me the double guns
Yeah.
here? No.
This is why I shouldn't be in
Is that
here.
your thing,
This is
man?
why I shouldn't be in
Are
here.
you just like, I don't know what to do with my hands?
Yeah,
Is that-
no, because usually my hands are on the keyboard in the control room.
yeah,
so
you gotta be careful with the posture, your posture.
Oh, yeah, no.
You get carpal tunnel if you're not careful.
My body is a temple, and I expect, Freedom 55, we're not sponsored by Freedom 55. Freedom 55, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you get your pension when you retire. You retire at 55. I plan on dying, so that's my Freedom
No, you
55.
can't say
that's
that
nice.
stuff.
That's my
Nice.
Freedom
It's,
55.
hey, it's a plan.
No, that's a horrible plan. You
Well, I'm not for his wife.
That's young, right? Yeah, your wife can take some
She'll be
little bit of
happy.
cash. I was going to open up this segment by saying how John Rahm just shot a 76, a 4 over. That's much better than what I was going to say. You got some news you saw about Vladdy Jr. Maybe some
I'm breaking
injury
this news because
we got our MLB
Baseball
outsider.
outsiders.
MLB outsider.
What don't I do? Right, that's the question you got to ask yourself. No, we just read now. Vladdy left the spring training great game with right knee soreness,
Oof.
discomfort, soreness.
Am I allowed to tweet that out?
yeah,
It's already tweeted out.
The sources say.
Sources
yeah.
say.
Yeah. But it's potentially could be a big story.
Yeah,
Obviously.
I mean, if depending on how serious it could be, yeah. I mean, there's still like 25 days or so until the regular season, so I'm not too worried about it, and we'll see what happens. But he should be okay.
We got to get out to a Jays game this
We
year.
do, yeah. I'm actually curious about the new configuration of the Rogers Center.
It looks nice. It
Yeah.
looks beautiful. Looks like a real ballpark.
So things to do this year. We'll go to the Rogers Center, and
Sure.
then we'll go to Albert's house for some poker and
That's
some
right,
beers,
yeah.
'cause-
I know. I've been telling you guys to come to my place for so long, and it hasn't happened, man. It's like /Reno/ do I really want you guys there? I do, but then it's a whole
Let me ask you,
crew thing.
your wife, is she a sports fan? Will she
She
watch
loves
sports
the
with you?
Jays. Yeah. Just the Jays though. Like she doesn't watch hockey. She'll go to a live event if it's not cold.
Right.
She hates the cold.
Well, I don't blame her.
Yeah.
This is
How about yours?
riveting.
Is she a sports fan?
Who, Christine?
Yes, you're right.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, she is actually.
Is she?
Yeah, she'll sit there and actually watch. She watches this show.
We'll beep that out. in
Really?
post, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Say hi. She had
Hi,
really nice
Christine.
things to say.
What are you doing?
She really had nice things to say about you.
Did she?
Yeah, the first thing was, wow, I didn't know Sharman knew about hockey.
Well, nor did I.
I'm like, well,
until
he
this
does.
week.
We
Yeah.
should do a lifestyle podcast.
No, we should not.
Don't plant the seed, Sean.
Yeah.
Don't plant the seed.
Producer Ellie's saying we have rated G for that. So
Oh, okay.
that's a show
That's true.
on Homestand as well. That's the end of the show. It's been a fantastic week. The first week of this show, I think it was a success.
Well, we got
Right?
through it.
Yeah, and thank you, Producer Sean, for coming in. Thank you to Steven Psihogios and all our guests this week as well. This has been the Homestand Show. We'll be back on Monday.